Hello, good afternoon. My name is Arturo Camacho.
My name is Aloelito Reze.
My name is Zoe Guerra.
And my name is Eliasar Rangel, and this is our group project, Amplified Energy Corp, California Oil Spill 2021.
Okay, so going into what happened. On October 2nd, 2021, a crack in an Amplified Energy Corporation oil pipeline was detected. At this time, oil began to spill into the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Southern California. And it was estimated in the beginning that approximately 126,000 gallons of crude oil was released. But recent estimates have limited that down to closer to 25,000 gallons of crude oil. And after this, California declared a state of emergency, closing off the entire shoreline so they can begin the cleanup process and manage what has spilled so far. And the picture right here depicts the oil spilling into the ocean.
Pipeline. The San Pedro pipeline was installed in 1980 with a length of 17.7 miles and a diameter of 16 inches. The main cause of the oil spill is that back in 2021, a cargo ship was passing over the pipeline and it had its anchor down. And it actually hooked on to the pipeline, dragging the anchor at an approximate distance of 105 feet. Therefore, the anchor caused a small crack in the pipeline that was undetectable at the time because of this. And at the time of the actual oil spill, the crack of the pipeline was 13 inches long.
Environmental impact. So obviously, gallons of oil being contaminated into bodies of water is not good for the marine life that lives there. It's, as you can tell, marine life use their water. It's like our oxygen. So basically, these effects of the oil into the marine ecosystem poisons and suffocates the animals. And it could lead to long-lasting side effects within the animals and also in fish. For example, we eat fish that are found in these waters, so that could have an effect on that. There was 116 total birds recovered, 34 were alive, and 82 birds were dead. 7 total mammals were recovered, 6 were found dead, and 1 alive. There was 14 dead fish, and so with this data.
But the environmental impact, we found out these results on the website. So actually, we find out in total the animals recovered was in 116 birds. So for those animals, 82 animals was dead by the oil spills, and 34 it was alive. So that animals was recovered. And also for the mammals animals, it was only 7 mammals recovered, 6 by alive and 1 dead. So by those numbers, we calculate the risk assessment. So we have a relative risk 4.9, attribute risk 0.70, and also we have an O ratio of the 14.5. So according to the engineering environmental book, it says the relative risk and the O ratio, the numbers has to be above to the 1.0. So that's meaning the risk of the animals is very high. So basically, it's very dangerous. Like this contamination is very dangerous to the animals.
As you can see in this picture, this is the efforts of the workers, what it takes to clean up and recover the animals.
Okay, so moving into economic impact. So the economic impacts of this spill were the cost of cleanup and compensation. There is no direct number of the cost of cleanup right now or the compensation because it is still an active investigation. But the cost of cleanup can be estimated to around 17 to 20 million dollars in comparison to other spills that have happened in California, which have been greater than this. Damage to agricultural lands, the agricultural lands as well as the farmlands, they both entail fish. So the fish farmlands and the agricultural lands that they would take water to from the ocean to these agricultural lands to help feed agriculture. Fishery and wildlife. So there's a lot of fishing that goes on off the coast of California. This oil spill affected that industry greatly, causing a backup in fish at markets. Going into the destruction of fish industry, the whole industry of the fish was severely devastated because the whole shore of this whole shore of California was cordoned off and closed, not allowing people to go and fish. Going to the destruction of tourism and facilities and cultural areas around this area is a large popular tourism site and a large cultural area. So when they cordoned off the shore and closed it off to a certain amount, they affected this industry as well. And then of course gasoline increased with the closure of this pipeline, and this pipeline providing gasoline and crude oil. Crude oil gets taken to be refined. With that being closed down, the price of gasoline in this area and in California as well as other states was increased. Okay, so moving into Amplified Energy Corp regulation violations. To start with, there were 72 severe violations to where equipment and certain areas of the rig had to be closed down and cordoned off for maintenance. There were 53 other violations that were not so severe, but they were still marked for those violations. So in total, there was 125 violations reported on this oil rig specifically and the company. Significant going to 2013 and 2014, the violations resulted in $85,000 fines, which is a small amount to how much the oil rig is making in a total day. So those fines are pretty insignificant. It's a decades old oil rig. It was, I think, constructed in the 1980s, so it's old technology and technology that needs to be upgraded and maintained properly. So all those maintenance and upgrades cost so much money that they would rather incur fines than have to spend possibly upwards of millions of dollars to help modernize the rig. In 2010, this was a result of failure in their systems. The whole oil process was closed down. So this is pretty significant that this oil rig has been having a lot of problems. Prior to this, they reported that an inspection to the pipe with a smart pig, which is a device that travels through the pipeline, it detects any structural integrity issues. They did not comment on whether the smart pig detected anything, but that kind of signifies that they may have detected it, but they didn't want to fix it. As well as sonar was used for the pipe integrity, but again, no comment was made on this, whether there's something was detected. It's probably attempts to cover up their fault at this disaster.
So comparison. So how significant was this event? Well, what we did is we compared 3 other events that we compared how many gallons of oil they spilled, how many dead animals, and the cost of cleanup. A recent one in that same area, well, was significant one like this one, was in 1990. It spilled 400 gallons of crude oil, estimated 3,400 dead birds, and 35 million in cleanup costs. One that also happened recently in 2015 was the Refugio oil spill, with over 100,000 gallons estimated, an estimated 87 birds, 36 sea lions, and 9 dolphins, and $60 million in cleanup costs. And then we're comparing this to the biggest one in history, with over 300 to 8. It was estimated 380 to 500 million gallons of crude oil spilled, 30,000 grebes killed, which is a type of bird. And remarkably, not many sea animals died in this event, because in this area, not a lot of marine animals were present. And it was around 12.3 to 38 billions in damages. This was because in the Persian Gulf area, they harbor a lot of oil and so that's why so many damages were because of all the of the oil that was spilled.
Cleanup. Right now, to clean up the ocean, there were boats deployed to pick up oil using vacuums and skimmers to collect oil and booms that to isolate the oil. It was a small oil spill, so the use of burning oil in the ocean was not used in this case. There was a specific chemical and biodegradable cleaners were applied to break down the oil, but these cleaners they must be approved beforehand as they can actually cause there are specific cleaners that could cause harm to the environment. Now in terms of shoreline cleanup, the use of absorbents that act as sponges to absorb oil but not water near the shoreline were used. And not only that, but crew members, they manually shoveled up sand that was contaminated with oil and they placed them in special sandbags and were later treated.
I want to talk about the preventions. So based on this situation, the oil spills in California, so there's different methods of preventions. For example, on the marina areas. So basically, it's like all the water there is like on the spills, and also we have I mean at the boaters. That is like everything's related to the boat. So, for example, we have these preventions for the marina areas. Use running in storage tanks as required by the law. Use automatic nozzles shoot off to reduce the potential for overfilling fuel tanks, and also set up the oil recycling programs to deliver used oil to the designated collection site. So this is very important because most of the people do not have the conscience to take the oil use, the used oil to the recycle area. So that's why we have this situation of the oil spills on the ocean. Also, to keep an spill control equipment they readily available, properly dispose of the used oil and fuel absorbent materials. For example, this method is just to collect all the oil in a certain point, just to take off to the ocean or to the water, and just to move it to the specific collector area. Also to the higher fines for non-compliance violations. So the other one, the boaters. So this is very important because all the engines that has at the boater has like a leaks of oils and all this stuff. So for example, do not overfill the fuel tank. For example, only the 90% of the capacity to reduce the chance of the spills. Use oil absorbent pads in the figures for of the old boats with inboard engines. Regularly inspect throughout to the fuel fittings after to reduce the risk of the sinking. Recycle used oils and filters. This is very important as well. And also to the new boats roads to avoid to the oil spills. For example, on the merchandise oil spills, and also increase the fines for the violations of oil contaminants, and at the end, just to find another ecological alternatives, just the way to move the boats. For example, an electric engines or something else. Do not contaminate.
In conclusion, an estimated of 5,500 gallons of oil has been recovered as of now.
The cleanup for this whole scenario, this whole thing lasted only 11 days total.
So also, and a conclusion is just to a lack of the maintenance of the oil pipe, so that's why it caused the oil spills.
And as a reminder, this is an ongoing investigation, and current regulations need to be properly enforced, is our conclusion.
These are references for our pictures and our sources.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
And have a good day.